What's up, guys? It's Mickey here, and yeah, it looks like I'm here by myself. Maybe I don't know. Oh,
I
here
don't know
comes
what
Steve.
happened.
Here comes Steve.
Terry just fell off, boss. He just did during the intro. I'm sure he'll be right back. But I tell you what, since we've got just a second, let me go ahead and steal this and let me bust the monthly mashup real quick.
The Show Me Reptile Show. America's Reptile Expo. Durham, North Carolina. September to remember. Colorado Springs, Colorado. Medford, Oregon. Nashville, Tennessee. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Portland, Maine. St. Louis, Missouri. Odessa, Texas. Waterloo, Iowa. Derry, New Hampshire. Eugene, Oregon. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Springfield, Missouri. Columbia, Missouri. Come be a part of the experience.
It's Terry.
Here we go. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. No, I figured it'd be fun to hop on and talk with you. You know, Terry. I mean, geez, between the two of us, what do we got? Probably close to 40 years of reptile show experience.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot that we can help people out with, and that's kind of our point here. Wanted to touch base on social media. Social media is a great tool. You can sell animals on there. You can post pictures of your cars, your cat, your dog, things that have happened. You know, you can do what you want to, but you also have to keep in mind that if you decide to go after somebody or get mad at somebody and you post that information on social media, it doesn't go away. And it's very damaging for people that didn't know and shouldn't know. So as a vendor, even and as a show promoter, if you have a problem with a person, you don't go on social media and blast their name unless you're just ready to take them apart. And that's not a good way to do business in this reptile industry. Show promoters shouldn't be trashing any other show, whether they like them or not. Vendors shouldn't be trashing other vendors. They shouldn't be trashing shows. You know, if you don't have a good show, you can discuss it with your buddies or other vendors, but don't get on social media and tell the whole world, because that may have just been a bad show for you that day. And if you're upset about it, you're going to create something that hurts the whole industry. And,
yeah.
And you know as well as I do, a lot of these vendors, they think because they have vended a lot of shows, they know how this works. You and I know the inner workings of the show and the problems that we run into and the headaches that we run into. And a lot of people think, well, oh, they're just making all this money because they count the door and they count the tables and they tally up all that money. They don't consider liability insurance, business licenses, employees, the rent on the venue, tables, things that pop up that you have to take care of. There's a lot more to it than just, hey, I'm having a show and I don't have to advertise and thousands of people are going to come in and all the vendors are going to pile up. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I wish it did. It would be cool, but it never does. You know, and that social media stuff, that is a huge double-edged sword. You know, I've watched show locations take dives before because somebody came in, they didn't have a good show, and they just trashed the show location online, and you just kind of sit back as a show promoter and like, wow, everybody else in the room did okay except for you, and you're on here screaming on the mountaintop about how bad it was, or how bad the promotion is and things like that.
No, you're 100% correct. That's just unacceptable. And I've even scolded other show promoters that got started that were talking about a different show on social media negatively. And it's extremely unprofessional. If you're in this business, it's competitive. We all know that. We're competing with other shows, all over the United States. And there's a lot more now than there was when I started.
We're also competing with flea markets down the road and stuff like that. Like, I work with a lot of other with some other show promoters. I'm not going to say a lot, but I work with some other reptile expo people, and this works better when everybody kind of works together.
It does. And you brought up a good point, because I've been to flea markets and see leopard tortoises and ball pythons and baby turtles and stuff for sale at flea markets. So it doesn't cost a customer anything to go in there. So if they got a great deal at a flea market, that's great, but that hurts the business that we're in, because we're trying to make money and help this industry. When you find somebody at a flea market and you don't see them again, and you bought something and it's sick or it dies, how are you going to find that person?
Well, there's no standardization there either. There's nobody going and doing health checks. There's no level of accountability in places like that where people just set up and throw up and do whatever they please.
Exactly. And that's one of the things, that's what I do for your shows. I go and screen all the animals. If I see things I don't like, I'll talk to the vendor. I don't kick them out on the first offense. That's just not the way to do it. We educate them, and if they're willing to listen and learn, I have a lot of experience with animals. I've been doing this since I was a little kid, and I've been breeding snakes since the 80s, and I've been in this business a long time. So, I know a healthy animal when I see one. I know a sick one when I see one. And so if they'll listen, then they're fine. But if they want to just keep on bringing unhealthy animals, stuff with shed skins or stuck eye caps, they're not going to be vending the shows anymore, because it's just a reflection of the whole industry.
Yeah. That's something I kind of learned as I was expanding. We would let everybody come to the show one time or two times, and then kick them out and things like that. And that was that was one of those things where people kind of ran their mouths, because I would tell them they didn't have good animals, and next thing you know, I'm the a-hole for telling them that they didn't have good animals, and how dare I, and everything like that.
You're exactly right. And I told you when I met you, you got a target on your back, and it will be there from now on. I've had one on mine since I started the Dixie Reptile Show. You make somebody mad, they're liable to hate you for the rest of their life and never have anything good to say about you. No matter how well or whatever you did to them, they don't understand it because they thought they should get special treatment. There is no special treatment when you have a business. Try and treat everybody the same and try and keep them happy, but that's impossible. You ask any business owner, I don't care if it's a car dealer, furniture, there's always going to be somebody that is not happy with that business. So it's a balancing act to make it work, and you do the best you can do, but you can't always win that battle.
No, not at all. I mean, I've learned that one the hard way, trying to keep everybody happy.
So have I. Even after I was just about to retire from the business, I got attacked by someone I didn't know for something I did that I didn't know he was a part of. And he never heard my side of the story. And when he started running his mouth on social media, and I finally reached out to him to see what was going on, it had something to do with me, but he never heard my side of the story. And then when he realized what had actually happened instead of the one-sided story, he apologized to me, he pulled everything down, and he stopped. But those kind of things happen all the time because we can't just reach out. We can't interact with every single vendor or every person that's ever been to a show.
Yeah.
So
and
happens.
That's 100% true. I mean, nobody ever wants to hear both sides of the story. They want to hear the angry side of the story. If I've dealt with that with past employees, past vendors, past customers.
Yep.
Nobody ever wants to, talk about what happened on their side of the street that, made me have to make the decision that I made.
Yes, and a lot of times the story is glorified or distorted to make them sound like you're the bad guy when in reality you weren't.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen every time, but there are those kind of people that are going to flip it over and make you look bad because that's what they do. They're smart enough to turn everybody and turn their friends on you. But, you know, that doesn't last forever because the truth comes out sooner or later.
Well, so, I think a lot of people get that. I just don't think that they know, you know, I don't think that they understand that, like for me, like I'm running a company. We have like 80 employees. It's totally different than somebody that's just out here doing a show every couple of months by themselves. You know what I mean? Like it's two different monsters. Like what I do is totally different than what you used to do.
It is. You have, I only ran one show and then we expanded to Huntsville and we expanded to Atlanta. Atlanta was a good market, but Atlanta's got a lot of hurdles to jump over with regs and permits and animal licensing and stuff. And it wasn't cost effective for my vendors. So we let Atlanta go. And then in Huntsville, we had, you know, that was close enough to Birmingham. So we did well there, but I only had the one show. You've got shows all over the country. So you have got a bigger headache than I ever had. You know?
Listen, I keep these things on me.
I know. And I've run into, you know, I ran the Dixie Reptile Show for 23 years and then I retired from it. And then I started helping you, which is fun because now I don't have to take the heat. I can handle the heat, but you're the one that takes most of it. I'm just kind of running interference for you and trying to calm everybody down and say, hey, look, you know, rules are rules. We got to do this. We got to do that. And people get mad over, you never know. I had one person get mad at me because I wouldn't let him in after I'd closed the doors down and the public was coming in and he wanted unloaded the back doors, but he was always late. And I said, you know, I let you go a couple of times, but now it's over. I'm not going to leave my doors open for customers to walk in without, you know, they don't pay. They just come in the back door. And, you know, he got mad about that because I'm supposed to do him special favors because he can't come to a show on time. That doesn't work. Rules are rules. You have to follow them.
That always drives me nuts when we do the day before setup at a show. I pay the money. I pay everybody to be there. And then we'll have people show up at 9:30 on Saturday morning wanting to set up. And it's like,
yep.
And we accommodate everybody. We try to be as accommodating as possible, but that really grinds my gears.
Yeah, and it's hard to know who everybody is or what they are. You know, I used to have people come to the Dixie show. Well, I just want to go in and buy some mice and leave. Do I have to pay the door fee? Well, yes, you do. And I hate it for you. If you need to buy mice from that vendor, you can buy them before the show or after the show in the parking lot. I don't care about that. I prefer you didn't. But if you're going to come in the show, you need to pay the fee. The only time I ever refunded people's money is if they came in and they were looking for something specific and we didn't have it. I would feel bad about it if they drove any kind of distance. I'd give them their door money back and say, hey, call me next time before you drive over here looking for something very specific. And I'll let you know if we have it. And that way, if we don't, you're not wasting your time.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are circumstances and we have to do things to accommodate customers. At one time I had a show that my date got changed and I stayed at that building and talked to vendors and customers that showed up that I couldn't reach to. This was before we had good social media, and offered them their money back, gas money to go home. You know, I did everything I could to make that right. And that's where you stand out. You know, you do the best you can do and that's all you can do.
I hate it when dates change, especially when it's like nothing that we can do. You know, a lot of times it's out of our control whenever we get thrown, you know, variables. And
oh, it definitely is.
No matter how much you email, make Facebook posts, whatever, like you're still gonna have people that show up to the venue and all pissed off and everything like that.
It happens. It definitely happens. And another thing is that, again, amount of work that goes into these shows. For example, when the vendors show up here and your people come in, there's 20 signs out in front of the building. I put those out the week before. So, and your people do that too. And the signage goes out, the banners go up. We work hard, get the tables set up, make sure everybody's happy, try and keep them in a good spot. And one of the big things that always irked me with the vendors is, oh, the tables at the front door make all the money. In reality, that's the worst place to be.
Everybody walks past the front tables. I could never understand that myself. Put me in the back corner.
We did a show in Atlanta. I'm not going to mention any show names. It was a great show, but that's not where I wanted to be, because everybody that looked at my stuff said, hey, I'm going to look around and come back. And they found a better deal, or they found something like, or they just never made it back to me. So we really didn't do well being at the front. I'd rather be in the middle of the show or towards the back.
Oh, yeah. I like to be in the back when we set up and vend. Just put me in the back corner. We'll get all the people to come back here. And
your savvy buyers are going to walk the whole show, look at everything, decide what they want, what's the best price, and that's where they're going to go.
A lot of times whenever I go to an expo, I don't even know what's on the front tables. I never even see them. And by the time I'm out, like whenever I'm out, I'm out. And so a lot of times the front tables, they do get missed. And I've had people over the years throw absolute conniption fits about not having their front tables.
I know. I used to hear it all the time. I need my tables to be at the very front where everybody can see me when I come walking in. Why? You can walk in, my show wasn't real big. When we started in a National Guard armory, we could put about 75 tables in there. And I averaged 50, 60 tables on a monthly show, because that was great for every month. And you can see the whole building. So it's not like you're going to miss something. It's not a Daytona and I'm just going to use those as references, a Daytona or an ARBC where it's huge and you can't see everybody in there. When you walked in our show, you could see pretty much every vendor in there. And so you're not missing anything. You walk around the show and you see everything.
I've actually seen better results with all the, all the sizes of shows that we do. I feel like some people get it a little twisted that we only do small shows. We do big shows, we do medium-sized shows, and we do smaller shows. It just depends on what the market calls for. But I've actually seen a lot of vendors have better luck with sales at smaller shows.
It depends on what you have and the amount of inventory you have. And because a larger show means more competition, means more expenses. And some of the costs on these places are kind of high for parking and this and that and the other. And, especially if you're buying and selling animals, and even for breeders that produce them, we can't afford to start out $1,000 in the hole or $2,000 in the hole for a long distance show with a lot of expenses and expect to make a big profit. It's hard to do unless you're selling a lot of animals. So the smaller shows are more cost effective unless you have, a lot of animals. And so a lot of the smaller breeders, I wouldn't recommend the bigger shows unless you go there and look around and enjoy them. But I wouldn't want to, spend the table money and all that and hotel bills, to break even. It's not worth it.
Well, and when you look at percentages, because I mean, we still vend a lot of shows too, even though we host shows, we vend a lot of other people's shows and stuff like that. And, we've been in situations where we're driving cross country and, we might have to make $5,000 or $6,000 just to pay for staff, food, travel, tables, lodging, all of that before we even start breaking even.
Yep.
So then when you add your product cost, to sell $5,000 worth of product or $6,000 worth of product, that product costs $3,000 or $4,000.
Yes.
So I mean, you almost got to make 12 grand to break it even.
Exactly. And it's a balancing act. It's the same way with the shows. It's a balancing act to get the right number of vendors and the right number of customers to come through the door at any given show so that everybody's happy. Because if you have 10 vendors and 1,000 people, those people coming in probably won't come back to the next one because they're going to go, well, it wasn't a very big show and there wasn't very many vendors and I didn't see what I was looking for. Then on the other hand, if you fill it up with vendors and you got 50 vendors and 200 people, then your vendors are not happy. So it takes a lot of work to make that mesh. And that was what I always thrived for. And I know that's what you do. You've got to have the right number of vendors with a lot of variety and the right number of customers. And then it's up to the vendors to make their money off the customers and make their sales, and everybody's happy.
Well, yeah, I've always felt horrible whenever I talk to vendors and they didn't do very well at one of the shows. You know, that was part of the reason why we shrunk that show down in Lebanon. At the heyday of that show, we were running 350, almost 400 tables in that venue.
Yep.
And half of the people at that show weren't making any money. And now we've cut the tables down. I think we do 120, 150 tables, and generally everybody usually does pretty good. And I always try to watch that stuff. Like I feel like a lot of people always want to chase this next big show, and it's really it's not what works.
No,
it's not really sustainable.
Not necessarily. You know, we do a couple of big shows a year, and it's more like a vacation to see a lot of our friends in different parts of the country, and we will sell some stuff. And if we have a good show, that's great. But if we don't, we've had a good time because we plan to be there and just enjoy the show. And so that's a big factor. And, you know, and if you can't afford to vend one of the big shows, at least go attend it because it's always fun. There's always deals.
Oh yeah, they're always a good time. It's nice seeing everybody and just having a good time. Yeah, it's always fun. I'm looking forward to going up to Chicago here in October.
Oh, you and me both.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorites.
And
then another thing too is vendors and sales and businesses. Just because you bought 2 king snakes and now you're breeding king snakes and you got 50 babies doesn't mean you're a salesman. You still have to learn how to be a salesman. If you come to a show and you sit down at your table and you're sitting in your chair and you're playing on your phone and customers are walking by, that stuff doesn't sell itself because you're not the only one with king snakes or corn snakes or ball pythons. So when customers are coming by your table, you need to stand up. You need to speak to them. If they bought a ball python somewhere else, you might comment and say, hey, that's a nice looking snake, or that's, you know, you're going to breed that. Strike up a conversation with your customers, make them feel comfortable. Don't just sit there and stare at them as they walk by because you won't sell anything doing that. And if you know anything about sales, which I do, they teach that in every business. When you go to a car lot, they're not going to sit there and wait for you to come ask to look at a car. There's a salesman going to come out and ask if he can help. If you go in a furniture store, you're going to be looking at furniture. Somebody's going to come up and ask you. They're going to hit you with keywords like, what are you looking for? What do you want to spend? Are you looking for recliners, couches? You know, these are the things that help you create sales, and it makes your customers comfortable. They're not comfortable if you're staring at your phone and you don't even acknowledge that you're there at your table. And some people can ask about an animal if you're just not available to them.
Well, for me, what I've seen that's worked for me, you know, when I used to vend shows was just like having those conversations, like approaching people. I might not sell something to somebody right then and there at that show, but come Tuesday or Wednesday, and they might be calling me, you know, and consistently being at a show, you're going to build a rapport with everybody walking through the door. And it's not always about hitting that sale on Saturday or Sunday. You know, sometimes it's building that relationship, educating your customer and educating that other person, sometimes creating friendships with them, and they turn into they'll buy all your animals from you.
Yes, that's an excellent point. You can create a relationship with a customer. And I tell my customers the same thing. When you buy a snake from me or an animal, you got our business card and you have us as your support. Yeah. I don't care if you bought a ball python from Joe Blow 2 tables down and you need to know something about it. If I can help you, I will. I'm not going to go, well, you need to go back and see Joe Blow. I just think that would be rude. So, and then again, we call those repercussion sales. We go to a show, we got all our stuff there, we don't do very well, and then you get home and 2 days later you get a call and hey, somebody said you had a this on your table and I'm looking for one of those. Those sales generate a lot. A lot of sales come after the show because people are talking, especially if they're happy with you and they've seen things they like and then they talk to their friends. It happens quite frequently.
Well, and that's why we built Marketplace, Terry, so people that were going to the shows could get a hold of these guys after the fact. I don't know if people got it confused with me like trying to build some kind of like money grab or something like that, but every weekend we answer so many emails and messages to the business page asking about a specific vendor or a specific animal. You know, I'm sure you used to get those calls too, like, hey, I seen so and so had this on their table. I can't remember their name, but it was this.
Yes.
You know, so what we're trying to do there is try to connect the customer and the breeder. Say, hey, go check it out. They've got a Marketplace store. Go check that out.
Sure. That's also a good avenue to go. And I always told a lot of my vendors, and some of them I just had to educate them. Have business cards, have banners. When somebody buys something, give them a business card so they'll remember who you are. And
even if you talk to somebody, give them a business card.
Correct. We give out business cards all the time, and I help people find other things. I'm not, if somebody asks me, hey, you got, boa constrictors, a specific boa constrictor, why don't breed boas, but that guy down there 2 tables down or 3 tables down does. I don't mind doing that for anybody because I want everybody to make sales. We're all in this together.
Oh,
if we don't work together, it's just going to be complete turmoil. And with the times the way they are in the economy, things are a little tight. The market is saturated with certain species and people are bailing out. And so, we've got to help each other instead of going against each other when we're not having a good show. That's just not good business for anybody.
Yeah, I don't always necessarily agree with that term saturated. I feel like there's just a lot of reptile keepers out there that don't know that they're reptile keepers yet, and we got to turn that on in them,
Well, if you look at some of the statistics on some of the sites, you'll see, how many animals are for sale in what category. So you can kind of get a gauge on it. And that's another thing, advice for the vendors. If you're about to go into a species, go on Marketplace or Morph Market or Fauna Classifieds or any of the sales sites and see just how many those animals are for sale. And if there's a lot of them, you might want to rethink it and go to something that has less animals that you like. I do that all the time when I'm looking at a species to start working with. If there's 20,000 of them for sale, I don't think I want to jump into that and start breeding those.
Oh, you don't want to mortgage your house if there's
No.
50,000 of them for sale?
I know some people that have mortgaged their house to buy snakes, but
me too.
That was a good move they did. So
there was a time whenever that made sense. I don't know if it really makes sense anymore.
Well, I know one that mortgaged his house to buy albino Burmese pythons, and they did well with those. I get that.
Yeah.
But it's something new like that, and you got the only ones, you control that market for quite some time. So
yeah. What are some things that you've seen change? Terry, you've been a part of this industry for a very, very long time. What are some of the positive changes you've seen over the years?
I've seen better quality displays, caging, animals. The information out there on how to take care of different animals. There's so much out there. You can if you're going to research an animal that you want to buy and take care of, the information is on the internet. The internet was huge when it started, and I can remember when the internet first started, and I realized that I could take a camera with a floppy disk, which is obsolete now, take a picture and send it across my computer to somebody in California and say, hey, this is the snake and it's eating a rat. And they buy it because they saw exactly what I had at that moment. And that was, to me, that was technology, a big change.
Yeah.
And now we got digital cameras. If you like you and I If you say, hey, I want a Mexican black king snake, I can walk downstairs, snap a picture to it, and you can have it in seconds.
Yeah, then you could just ship it out to them the next day.
Yes, that's huge. And price lists used to be in the mail. Now you can go on any site and look at animals and talk to the breeders. You do very well with all of this. There's been a lot of changes.
Yeah, I still think that, you know, the industry hasn't even reached its pinnacle yet.
There's more growth coming.
Oh yeah.
And another thing I want to touch base with too is USARK. They fight for our rights every single day. And so the shows and the people that don't support them, you need to think about it, because I personally have been involved in a lawsuit with Alabama and was the lead plaintiff, and USARK paid the attorneys. They paid for everything. And even though we lost it, we still put up a fight, and they do that every day for our rights. And so, you know, if you're making money in this business and you can afford to donate to USARK, or if you're a show promoter and you can generate some funds, I suggest you do it, because that's all we have to fight these laws. And, you know, there's a lot of people out here that think no one should own animals of any kind: snakes, lizards, turtles, dogs, cats. They don't want us to do anything. And these are our rights. You know, this is not a communist country. The government doesn't control everything we do, but if these animal rights get a hold of us, they will control it, and we won't be able to own anything. They've done.
You know, it's always funny, Terry, that in my opinion, I feel like the people that feel that way about our animals are probably the same people that shouldn't be allowed to have children.
I agree with that. You know, during that battle with Alabama, I talked to one of the board members on the Fish and Game, and he told me that he didn't think someone should keep a snake in a 10-gallon aquarium with a lid on it. And my response to that was, well, I don't think people should keep tropical fish in a 10-gallon tank with a lid on it, because, you know, why should they have them? But they sure won't ban tropical fish, because every pet store in the world sells them and people enjoy them. That's soothing to look at tropical fish. And for us, it's soothing to have pet snakes or watch them breed or watch the babies be born. That's what we enjoy, and that's our right, you know, and it shouldn't be taken away from us.
Well, it's therapeutic.
It is therapeutic. You're exactly right. That's the term I was looking for.
So, guys, I've just been kind of sitting backstage, listening, soaking in the things that you were saying, and I had to pop on real quick because I got a question for you guys. So.
Sure.
I know from just working with Micky, you know, some of the negativity, like what you guys were starting out with, speaking, some of the negativity and the things that go on with social media and things like that. What is it that keeps you guys going? Because I know that Micky's not rolling in money like what some people might think or whatever. What's the driving force that keeps you going? Because I know that not everybody gets the same blowback in the community just for liking reptiles.
For me, it's I really do love these animals, and I do love this community, and I want to grow it. You know, I love these things. You know, Terry, you were around. I went through a really rough time in life, and the animals saved my life, you know, and I've always loved the animals. Like we were just talking about, they're therapeutic, and I want to be able to share that with everybody. And I think that, you know, the bigger we make this hobby in this industry, the more power that we're going to have as an industry and a hobby. And, you know, that takes work. You know, that's why we're out there all over the country trying to grow this, you know. So I gave myself a mission some years ago, and I don't care what anybody has to say about what I'm doing. I'm doing my thing. And when it all works out, then they can kiss my ass.
That's an excellent question. And I'm going to answer that too. I have a passion for these animals. I've had it since I was a kid, all wildlife, and I like teaching people about it. And for the kids in this industry, if they can get out in the woods and look for a snake or a turtle or see something somewhere without sitting behind a computer screen or playing video games, I think is the best thing in the world, because they're getting exercise and
Agreed.
fresh air. And it just, as long as I was in the business, I had kids that came to my show as children, and now they're adults and they're breeding snakes and they're having fun. And it's I guess it's the same feeling a teacher gets, because our teachers and our professors at colleges, they don't make a ton of money, but I think their satisfaction is that they've spawned people to do things and they have taught them that. And you can take some pride in that and say, hey, I taught these people that. And so that's what drives into passion. It's not about the money. You have to have money to make these things work. But, I had a full-time job the whole time I was in business, and I worked that job and I ran this business, and it was fun. And if I made money, it was great. If I didn't make money, my bills weren't affected by it, because it wasn't what I did to make a living. It's what I did because I love these animals, and it's fun. And I meet people. I've got friends all over the United States because of this industry. I mean, I got friends in California I haven't even met in person, and they say, hey, if you get to California, I'll take you out to dinner. How cool is that? It's a huge network.
Oh yeah.
I like to ask those questions of people that have been around for decades and decades. Because, like I said, not everybody is treated the same, and unfortunately, not all the same rules apply. And why it is, as you try to move forward, there's so many trying to pull you back down. When it's I know I speak for Show Me anyways. I know Micky does a lot of community building. We were just doing it at a pet adoption event. Micky went out of his way to buy stuff to do a barbecue. I mean, we bought a whole barbecue grill and everything, so little things like that make all the difference. But I just like to hear it, because that type of stuff is inspiring to me, because it's selfless, guys. There's a lot of stuff you guys do that's selfless for your vendors, for the community.
We do. My wife and I do relocation. We don't charge anybody. If they have a problem with a snake and they call us, we'll go over there and take care of the problem. We'll educate them about why and where and what's happening. And I've done that for years. I used to do educational programs for Boy Scout groups, hunting groups. Huntsville Utilities used to hire me to do a safety meeting for their guys. Now, they paid me for that. But in the dozen years or so that I did those safety meetings, a lot of those guys quit killing venomous snakes, because they saw me work with them and they realized they're not as dangerous as they thought they were. And so they learned to leave them alone. And I didn't tell them not to kill them. I just said, if you don't have to, don't bother. But if it's a problem, then do what you need to do. And because I'm not going to run out and say, well, you better not kill a snake because you're stupid. That just creates more animosity, and then they're going to kill it.
That's what I say.
Yeah. I always tell them, if it's a problem and you need to dispose of it, do so. You don't need to have a dog or a child bit by a snake. It's a big vet bill or a big hospital bill. So, but if you're out hiking on a trail and one's crawling across the trail, let it cross the trail and go on about its business. It's not going to come after you. So.
Well, and that's super important. I always say that's creating allies for our community, not just, it's not all about getting everybody to keep reptiles all the time. Sometimes it's just opening their minds so they're not afraid and they're not killing them. It's just educating everybody.
And does birthday parties for kids, and the kids love it. I mean, that's an exciting thing, to go to a birthday party and they get to see a giant skink and a big tortoise and hold a snake that's longer than they are tall, and learn about them and touch them. And the kids love it.
Oh, yeah.
It inspires them not to go out and kill everything they see.
Yeah, so, I think it really teaches people a respect for wildlife,
It does.
But yeah. Oh wow, we've been going for quite a while.
I think we have, and I if you've got anything else, shoot. But I think we pretty much touched on everything that we wanted to discuss.
Yeah, we can save some of this other stuff for another episode.
Sure, we'll come back on with some other things. But I appreciate you having me on.
Oh yeah, thanks for coming on, Terry. It's always a good time talking to you.
Oh yeah, well, we talk on the phone and discuss these problems
all the time.
do with the shows all the time. Of course, that doesn't go anywhere but between me and you, but we will get them solved.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess we'll see you this weekend in Nashville.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Well, I'll see you later.
All right. Thank you.
The Show Me Reptile Show. America's Reptile Expo. Durham, North Carolina. September to remember. Colorado Springs, Colorado. Medford, Oregon. Nashville, Tennessee. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Portland, Maine. St. Louis, Missouri. Odessa, Texas. Waterloo, Iowa. Derry, New Hampshire. Eugene, Oregon. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Springfield, Missouri. Columbia, Missouri. Come be a part of the experience.